Hello. PPT. Hello. Good morning, everyone. I, Ms. Shushma Kindalkar, is your host for today. I welcome each and everyone for the 68th virtual webinar of Satgun Sangh Meet on the topic OHSMS Industrial Safety Series, Need for Safety and Introduction to the Health and Safety. The speaker for today is Mr. Yogesh Chandekar. Agenda for today's Satgun Sangh Meet: virtual inauguration by Dr. Sundar Kataria, invoking the blessings of deity, introduction of speaker, presentation by Mr. Yogesh Chandekar, introduction of the panelists, panel discussion and question answer session followed with the closing session. Satgun Sangh, conceived and led by Dr. Sundar Kataria, driven with a mission to elevate the quality, safety, and environmental awareness levels of industry. Satgun Sangh is a series of educative, informative events aiming to illuminate professionals on possible solutions to current issues of industry and economy. Introduction of Dr. Sundar Kataria. He is the chairman and managing director for International Certification Services Private Limited. His qualification is he has done mechanical engineer in AMIE, honorary doctorate into business management, experience into nuclear RAPP. He started his career in building India's first nuclear power plant at Rawat Bhata, Kota, Rajasthan. Oil and gas, EIL. He contributed in developing India's first oil and gas field at Bombay High since its inception. DNV. He was head of industry and offshore development with DNV for 2 decades. ICS. He is founder of first Indian conformity assessment and inspection body known as International Certification Services Private Limited, which is a provider of a total quality solution under single umbrella with a wide spectrum of services. His achievements and award: he has achieved a lifetime award of NACE Corcon, received several national and international awards. Now, I request Dr. Sundar Kataria to virtually inaugurate today's session.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
Please join us for the recitation of Gayatri Mantra. Introduction of the keynote speaker. The keynote speaker for today is Mr. Yogesh Chandekar. He is General Manager into certification for International Certification Services Private Limited. His academic qualification is BE Mechanical, Diploma in Business Management, Advanced Diploma in Industrial Safety. Area of specialization is into management system certification, third-party inspections, plant safety audits. So I request you to take the session from here onwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Sushma. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Let me share presentation. So is it visible?
Yes, sir. Just make it to the full screen.
Yes, yes. So next, okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. Starting this webinar, basically this is the first session for the occupational health and safety. That topic we have selected for the upcoming webinars. Earlier we had the sessions on the food safety management system and MDQMS and QMS, but from this session onwards we are going ahead with the occupational health and safety. It's very important, and it is like the FSMS or MDQMS, it is not restricted to any particular industry or particular sector. So this occupational health and safety is very important. The occupational is whatever the person for earning bread and butter, whatever he is doing, so that may come under the occupation, and the health and safety associated to that, that is known as the occupational health and safety. And this occupational health and safety is very important for the various aspects. Basically, this is the any person working under any organization, or it also applies to the employer who is also be treated as an employee of the organization. So this occupational health and safety is very important. There are very much from the legal point of view compliance as well as the other aspects. So we will see one by one, and this session it is for the need of safety and introduction to occupational health safety. So we are just starting from the basics, what exactly it is, why this is required, what efforts are being taken at the international level and at the national level. Then we will go for further onwards. We will go in detail about the requirements, then the compliance and various aspects of the occupational health and safety. So first, with when we talk about the occupational health, there are three things. One is the occupational health, second is the occupational safety, and third one is the occupational health and safety. So this, what is occupational health? Occupational health is an area of work in public health to promote and maintain highest degree of physical, mental, social as well-being of the workers in all occupations. Very important is all occupations. It talks about the maintaining the highest degree of physical, mental and social well-being. So the workers who are actually working on them, their physical working conditions, their mental stress or mental situations, or the work related the stress that is created if it is not resolved properly, or if they are socially not recognized within the organization, it is not, they are not recognized, their efforts are not recognized, they are not motivated, then the issue of the health of the worker or the safety of the worker can be an issue for the organization. So it is about maintaining the highest degree. So how we need to maintain, what kind of physical, mental or other kind of areas or aspects which affect the occupational health. Occupational health means it is injury while doing any work. If any injury happens or the ill health, suppose there are because of the work, the worker is ill healthy, like he is suffering from the ill effects of the chemicals being handled, or the toxic, the corrosive chemicals. So based on that, his health may affect. It is not that immediately, it is not a acute impact on the worker, but chronic is very most dangerous. The chronic effect, that is the slow poisoning of that that will affect the worker very badly, and at the end the worker may lose his life because of the adverse working conditions or the ill health, because of the ill health. Then what is the occupational safety? Occupational safety is with all aspects of the physical, mental, social health and safety. So it is not only the health, but again the safety at work, which ultimately will result in the ill health or the injury of the worker. But it again very importantly, the safety of the worker as well as the workers around him working. So because of the one person doing mistake, it may cause the ill health or the injury to the other worker. So this is also very important. Safety includes the health, and it is at the workplace where you are doing, where you are in factory. If it is in factory, then the where the workers or you work. So that in office where you work in the office, or the other areas where the occupation is considered. It is the umbrella for the company's efforts to prevent injuries and hazards in all the work environments. So very importantly, we need to identify the hazards, risk associated with that, and then the control measures to have a safe and healthy working environment for the workers or employees. So this occupational health and safety at workplace is the field of public health that studies trends in illnesses and injuries in the worker population and proposes and implements strategic and regulations to prevent them. So when we talk about combining the occupational health and safety, so here the importance of the studying the trends, because there are systems to collect the data, analyze it for the incidents or accidents happened, and the illnesses reported. The reports are collected by the regulatory authorities, and if we study the trend of the injuries of the workers for a particular industry, for a particular organization, and as a whole of the country, then we will certainly come to know about what kind of ill health or unsafe practices or working conditions are there, and to mitigate those, what exactly is required. That is the implementing the strategies and the regulations. Regulations in one form where the organizations are monitored for the legal compliances, and the strategies is the drive of the country or the state government, where it talks about the overall healthy and safe working within the organization and as a whole industry. So this, why this occupational health for an individual or from the organizational point of view, why this occupational health and safety is important? First and foremost is the legal compliances. So for the organizations, based on the health and safety, because the workers are working and the employers need to provide the conducive work environment for the workers working under the premises. So for that, the legal compliances are required, like the Factory Act. There are certain requirements which are specifically related to the safety and the health, where the hazardous chemicals are being used or hazard processes are there, then the chemical rules are there. So these regulations are for the safe and healthy work environment for the within the organization at workplace for the workers. So the legal compliance is first and foremost, that is also being monitored by the regulatory authorities, and for that, and if any violation is observed, then the company may be closed down. So because of that also, the occupational health and safety related measures are required. Then the second one is the less accidents. So accidents will have definitely the impact on the organization directly as well as the indirectly. And the if you have the better healthy and safe atmosphere, working environment, like the safe environment from the infrastructure point of view, from the workers are trained and the SOPs are there. So then ultimately it will bring down the accident rate drastically, and because of the cost involved in the accidents that can be saved. Then the lower employee absence and the turnover rates. It is also very important that the organization should retain the trained employee, and if any accident happens, then the worker may lose his life, or he may be handicapped permanently. So based on that, the organization may lose the worker, or because of the accident he will be hospitalized, and for that the absenteeism, and again the turnover rates. If the worker feel that the working in this environment is not good for his health and safety, then he may leave the organization. So that is also the frequent turnover of the employee will also have definitely impact on the efficiency as well as the productivity of the production. Then the better employee retention and satisfaction. If the workplace is conducive for the working environment, is pleasant for the workers, then the employee the satisfaction will be increased, and the employee it will definitely motivate employees to work with efficiency, and again the rejections will be also less. So it ultimately improves the productivity of the organization. So the occupational health and safety is very important, and the organization should, many of the organizations, they feel that they may require the additional cost to provide the health and safety work environment. It is not like that. It has been proved that if you have the healthy and safe work atmosphere, it definitely improves the productivity as well as the quality of the work that the workers are doing. And if we talk about the accidents, whatever the outcome of the unhealthy, unsafe or unsafe conditions or unsafe acts, it will result in the accidents. And the accidents will have two impacts on the organization. One is the direct cost of the organization, and the second is the indirect. So what could be the direct cost? It is the wages. The workers are hospitalized, and as per the requirements, he has to be paid his wages. Then the medical expense, whatever the treatment cost, medical expenses for recovering that worker, that is again the cost to the company. Then the compensation if the worker lose his life, or if he become permanently handicapped, then the compensation under the ESIC or the other requirements, the company has to pay it. And again they may lose the trained workers or manpower. And the investigation costs. So our organization need to have internal investigation of the accidents, as well as the regulatory authorities. They will also come. They will have their investment, their time, more time will be invested in the investigation, and the associated cost of the investigation, then the court cases and all that. So that will again add the cost to the organization because of the accident. And there are many indirect costs which may not be directly accounted, but definitely associated as a cost to the company. That is the workers or co-workers time loss. If any accident happens, all the workers gather, they talk about, they spend much more time on the discussions. They are not in a mentally in a condition to perform after the accident, and overall the time of the that person or the worker who has got injury or accident, he will lose the time, as well as the co-workers, because their time will also be lost. Then the damage of equipment, because of the if it is associated with the handling of material or working on the machines, then it will also have a damaged cost of the equipment, tools, raw materials and products. So that will again cost to the company as a result of accident. Then the suspension of production because of the damage of equipments and the raw materials or tools. So the production will be held, and that is again a cost to the company. Expenses on the restoring safety on the site. So to recovery from the damage, what has happened, replacement of the tools or equipment, that will also have some cost. Then loss to the profit because this time loss, the deliveries will be extended, that time period will not be made up at the latter stage, and overall will result in the bad name because the company has to declare it to the regulatory authorities, the newspapers, the media. They may also have the socially disclose the accident happened and the organizational culture for the health and safety. So that will also have the bad name in the market of the organization. And again, the insurance. So the insurance definitely schemes have definitely some advantages if you have the proper SOPs and proper work environment for the workers. But because of these accidents, in the history, you have to declare it, and that will increase the premium. So when we talk about the occupational health and safety, generally we talk about the organization, the company. It may be related to the offices or the factories. We talk about the occupational health safety for those premises only, and many of the acts and rules, they are for the factories or the establishments. But there are many of the occupations which are not yet focused for the regulations or for the occupational health related compliances. For example, the gender division of the labors. So this is an issue in spite of the laws and regulations also. So the gender division of that is men and women. So certain areas for women are restricted, the time limits, and as well as some soft corner is also given to the women's, or the work which the woman cannot handle or is not perform the work, maybe the construction work or other works. So there the discrimination happens between the men and women. So that is again an issue if we talk about the occupational health and safety point of view. Then the specialized industry sectors like the dock, shipbuilding, aerospace building, mines, agriculture. So these industry sectors, they are unique, and that cannot you need to have a separate regulations for them, because the work environment is different than normally what we have for the company or any organization. So these industry sectors, that will also they will the requirements specific to that industry sectors, that is also implementation and monitoring is an issue. Then home-based workers, because of the COVID pandemic, many of the people are working from home, and the regulations for the occupational health and safety point of view for the home-based workers, that is again a new thought is required for them as far as the occupational health and safety of those home-based workers as well as the part-time workers. So that is again an issue. Then migrants. The migrants are badly exploited. They are given less wages. They are accommodated the factory premises itself without any basic requirements, without providing basic requirements. So that migrants will also have issues which are not covered under the occupational health safety from the Factory Act or the other regulations. The informal economy, that is again an issue where if we talk about the occupation, every occupation should cover the health and safety, but many of the informal economies where the workers they need to work in a very unsafe conditions, unsafe environment. So that is again an issue. Then the child labor, though we have the acts for the Child Labor Act and rules, but still if we see the tapparis and the hotels or the dhabas where the child labor still exists, and the manage the work environment for the labor as well as the co-workers, that is also not good. at certain occupations. Then the contract workers, that is again an issue. The organizations feel that whatever the safe working conditions or environment that need to be provided to the workers only, not to the contract workers. And within the organization itself, you can find the discrimination between the company employees as well as the contractual worker employees. So then this is also an issue, the health and safety within the organization for the contractual workers. And the drivers and security guards, we can imagine what kind of the occupational health and safety the drivers and security guards at present is having. The drivers, they need to travel extended hours without any rest. They may need to travel at night also. So the drivers are also not specifically covered, though we talk about the organization, but normally it is restricted within the premises and not for the employees who are actually going outside for the company, like the salesmen, then the drivers, then the maintenance people, they go out for the maintenance work. So these are not covered appropriately in the, in fact, we are not thinking for them. We are not actually asking for the compliance. Neither the organization is looking at them, nor the focus is from the government or the as per their acts and rules. So these are the issues for the occupational related health and safety, and these are worldwide. All the countries will have the occupational related health and safety, and to have a common organization like the ISO for all standards, for the standardization, we have the ISO. Likewise, for the occupational health and safety, there is a internationally agency, that is a United Nations agency, that is called International Labour Organization. Normally it is called a ILO, and that is this ILO is devoted for promoting social justice and internationally recognized human and labor rights. So the countries, member countries of the United Nations, they are their representatives are there, and the conventions and the recommendations adopted by ILO, taking as a whole, are the considered an international labor code. So for the different from different industries, sectors, or the issues that we have discussed, the ILO are forming the committee from the members of the different countries, and they float the conventions and recommendations. It is the you can treat it as the international recommendations and conventions, what is required and recommendation for that. So they float the convention recommendations to form a basic structure for the countries for their legislation requirements. So ideally, it is required that whatever the convention and recommendation, ILO convention and recommendations, they need to be taken into consideration while forming any act or rule for the each country. So these must be taken care, because they are studied holistically, considering all aspects, different work environment, culture, because the different country members are form that committee. So ideally, these convention recommendations need to be adopted. Few of the important ILO convention and recommendations are given like this: the protection of workers' health recommendation. So the requirements for protection of the workers' health and the recommendations, how they can be protected. So that is given in the recommendation, and this forms the input for the legislative requirements for the different countries, like prevention of the major industrial accident convention and recommendation, list of occupational diseases, what are the occupational diseases and how they can be controlled. So that is again recommendation number 194. Then promotional framework for the occupational health and safety convention, it's a general convention for occupational health safety. Then the chemical conventions, the health and safety related to chemical industry, so that is covered under the convention 170 and recommendation 177. Then the working environment for the considering the environment, the air pollution, noise, and vibration. So that convention is the 148 and recommendation 156. Then the hygiene in the commerce and the offices, hygiene convention. So it talks about the work environment for the offices, office work environment. So here the hygiene convention 120 and recommendation 120 is ILO has floated. Then the occupational health and safety and health for the dock work. So it is as unique or specific for the dock works. What kind of hazards are there? What kind of risks are there? What kind of ill health and injuries, possible injuries and ill health, and how they can be controlled. Recommendations for the work environment or the infrastructure required for the good health and safety. Then the health and safety for the construction industry. Then the mine industry, the agriculture industry. So these are the sector specific or industry specific convention and recommendations, and it covers the holistically is covered. It is not for the only for the India or for any country. It is studied for all over the country, current practices, and what are the based on the data, the accidents, incident data, and the reporting or actually verification and auditing of those sites. These recommendations are given, and ideally for each country they should adopt it. So basically this ILO, it had developed the standards like the convention and regulations. If you can see this chart, it is talking about the migrant workers, then dock workers, seafarers, gender, like the issues that we are discussing, the protection of the child and young, the working times, then social security, vocational guidance and training, industrial relations, freedom of association, social dialogues, and levels of inspection. So all these are studied by the committee, and the convention and recommendations are issued by the ILO. These are specific risks like the physical hazards and the hazardous substance are covered under these are the important, which will have covering all the aspects of the issues that we normally face for the occupational health and safety, and the branches of the activities. So all these forms a OHS related convention and recommendations floated by ILO, and every nation need to adopt the good practices or the recommendations given in the ILO to form a legislative requirements for OHS's point of view. Then if we talk about the in general what the nation should have requirements for the national system. So every nation, the ILO has recommended that every nation should have the requirements, that is you can call it as a legislative requirements for the occupational health and safety, and minimum this should be covered under this national system, like the laws and regulations related to the OHSMS. You should have general as well as specific industry specific laws and regulations. You should making the rules, it should be monitored for the compliance from different organizations, and then the national tripartite body, that is the government, members from the government, members from the industry, entrepreneurs, and the members from the union, trade, or the workers. So they should have one body to study the OHS related issues and recommendations for better health and safety, safe work environment. Then the mechanisms for collecting and analyzing the data for the accidents and diseases. So that is again, you can club with the regulations, then the designated authorities, and the mechanism for insurance compliance. So these mechanisms are very important to study the trends and analyze the data, and further specific recommendations or control measures required for a particular industry or as a whole for the country. Then the research on occupational health and safety, further development that we have at present situation, further developments for the research, and the occupational safety and health training. What should be covered, the training at what stages, to whom training is given, and training need identification, and the training material, then the Twitters and all that. So all these should have, the national system should cover all these aspects of the occupational health and safety. So this is very important for the every nation to have bare minimum requirements. Considering this, they should have their system for the occupational health and safety. And for India, if we talk about India, apart from the factories and all that, one recently in 2020, the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code 2020 is released. That is for to consolidate and amend the laws, regulations, the occupational health, safety and working conditions of the persons employed in the establishment and for matters connected therewith in incidental thereafter. So this Ministry of Law and Justice of Government of India, they have released this gazetted notification on 28th September 2020, and this code 2020 is basically covering, it is not covering the offices of the central government, offices of the state government or any ship or war, but it covers, this code is applied in case of the contractual labor employed through contractor. So the Factory Acts, though it talks about the the workers or the persons working within the premises, but the organizations, they normally take care or see the compliances to the their own employees, and in the contractual agreement itself, they just push the safety related compliances to the contractor account, and the contractor is not have direct access to the working conditions or environment for the workers, contractual workers, they are working under the organization. So this notification, this code is for the contractual workers, labor employed through contractor in the offices of the central government, offices of the state government, where the central government, or as the case may be, the state governments is the principal employer. So definitely the ILO convention and recommendations for occupational health and safety, those are covered in this code 2020 for the contractual labor. So there are many acts and rules amended, but this is the latest one that on sample basis. But we have the legal requirement session, and in that we will have detail about the what exactly the requirements under these codes and the other acts and rules. So the key principle when we talk about the occupational health and safety, so the key principles, an organization or as a nation or as a government, they should have, all workers have the right to work in safe. So this is the basic fundamental as per our constitution also. The workers have right. So every individual have a right to work in a safe and healthy working environment, and that need to be considered as a principle, and based on that the policies or the vision mission that should be set for the organization as well as for the nation. Then the policies must be established, the different policies related to the occupational health and safety at the individual organization level as well as a country as a whole, with a target for the achievement of the goals or the targets that are set for the occupational health and safety. Then the national system, just now we talk about, considering the ILO recommendations, conventions, we should have a national system for occupational health and safety. Then the national programs, so different drives from the organization, from the state government, for the central government, maybe in the safety week and all this. So yeah, it should have national programs at every level and frequently, so that the safety and health that should be prominently highlighted within the organization, as well as a culture within the organization, within the country. The national programs are helpful for creating the atmosphere to have this safe and healthy atmosphere. Then the social partners, that is the employer and workers and the other stakeholders must be consulted. So there must be provision to consult the workers. Normally the workers, they are not heard properly. The channel is not there in the organization to reach for a common worker to the management. So that channel need to be established, and for that the consultation and participation is also very much important. So that way these employers, employees and the other stakeholders, that government agencies, the regulatory agencies, that they must be consulted before forming the policies for the occupational health and safety, and again the education and training for better and good safe and healthy environment. Then the programs and policies must be aimed for both prevention and protection. It should not be for the after incident what measures are required. It should be the preparedness as well as the response. So the prevention and protection, it is the first step, as well as it talks about the response to the ill health or the any accident happens, that response, that also need to be covered. Then continuous improvement of occupational health and safety must be promoted. Then health services covering all workers. It is not it should not be restricted to the within the premises, the workers who are working outside the company premises, but for the organization or for the company, they should also be covered properly, adequately, considering the hazards and risks that they actually exposed to. So that also need to be covered. Then the compensation, rehabilitation and the creative services for the workers. It may be through the legal legislative requirements, but it should be there. And the workers, employers and competent authorities have certain responsibility, duties and obligations. So every worker role, responsibilities, accountabilities must be defined for the workers as well as for the employers and the competent authorities. So that responsibilities, duties, obligations, it may through the legislative requirements or through the empowerment of the organizations, but the role, responsibilities, duties, obligations as well as the accountabilities that need to be considered. And when we talk about considering all these aspects, the role of ILO, then the convention, recommendation, the national systems and the principle that need to be covered, and the ILO has proposed this OHSMS management cycle. It is more or less similar to the ISO, which are based ISO standards, which are based on the plan, do, check and act. So similarly, the ILO also has developed the OHS management cycle. So it talks about the policies, that is OHS policy, as well as the worker participation. So the persons actually working, they are exposed to the risk or hazards, and they should come up with the requirements for the safe and healthy work environment. So the worker participation to form a policy considering the adverse ill health and the adverse safety conditions, the worker participation is also required for forming the policies. Then organizing responsibilities and accountabilities, then competence and training, OHS documentation and communication. So this forms the organization, more or less similar to the ISO requirements, but this is from the ILO point of view, this OHSMS management cycle. This also should be considered while you establish the occupational health and safety management system from the ILO point of view. Then the planning and implementation, then initial review of the work environment, then the system planning, development and implementation, OHS objectives and hazard prevention. So all these form the planning and implementation. Then the evaluation, once you have planned something and implemented based on your verification and the implementing the corrective or the SOPs or the corrective actions, you need to evaluate them for the effectiveness of whatever implemented. The performance monitoring and measurement for the workplace, that is very important. Then the investigation audits and management review to see whether the corrective measures taken are sufficient for the reducing down the unsafe conditions or ill health atmosphere, and have to provide a good, healthy and safe work environment. And any deviations or any shortcomings, again, that should be treated for actions for improvement. That is the preventive and corrective actions and the continual improvement. So finding the root causes, then appropriate corrective measures based on the root causes, and implementation of that, and again further going back to the same cycle, that is organizing, planning and the evaluation, whether the actions taken are sufficient to overcome the issues reported earlier, and for the better continual improvement for the OHS, occupational health and safety point of view. So this is what the OHS management cycle proposed by the ILO, more or less similar for the ISO. So this is for today regarding the safety, due to the time constraint, because the occupational health is a very vast subject, and we have around 15 to 20 sessions for this occupational health, and each session will have elaborated in each session, and that will also highlight the importance of the different aspects of the occupational health and safety, and further more knowledge for all of us based on that workers for based on that sessions that we will organize for the upcoming sessions. Thank you for patient listening, and now I will hand over to Sushma for further.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now we shall be having a panel discussion. The panelists for today are Dr. Sundar Kataria, Mr. Yogesh Chandekar, and Mr. Sunil Bali. Mr. Sunil, the introduction about Mr. Sunil. He's a head EHS Voltas Limited. His academic qualification is BTech in Chemical Engineering, Postgraduate Diploma in Industrial Safety, Postgraduate Diploma in Fire Engineering, MBA Safety Management in the year 2019, pursuing PhD in Safety Management. His area of specialization and experience is into EHS professional with more than 23 years insightful experience in the field of environment, health, safety management in various manufacturing and engineering, construction industries, seeking a senior managerial assignment as corporate head EHS. I request all three of you to please join in the panel discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, as I am traveling, I will manage to speak, no problem. But there may be some disturbances. I can wait there. Okay. So we can start our discussion. Good morning, sir. Kataria, sir.
Very good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, Solid
Yeah,
sir.
thank you.
Welcome, Baleros. Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir. First of all, let me congratulate Yogesh and thank him for a beautiful presentation where he's touched the entire topic from start to end in detail. And he's also mentioned that this is the start of the OHSMS series, and obviously we will get into detail. So Baleros Sahab, it's very nice to see you and have you on this session. Baleros Sahab, I would request you to put your insight on how this is functioning. So what we want to understand is Yogesh ji has put it in perspective of what documentation is and what actually should be the scenario in terms of what is the best practices, how it is to be put in place. My request to you is to put what Yogesh said in in the real value perspective of what actually goes on in the industry and how it moves within your experience.
Yeah, definitely. I will speak more on practical experience as
Absolutely.
I have about more than 22 years. So basically in our country, most of the industries are considering safety as a priority. Most of them are thinking safety first. Few of the companies considering safety as a legal requirement, and very few are considering safety as a value. Unless and in my opinion, because priorities may change, organization to organization or time to time priorities are getting changed. So first of all, we should consider safety as a value. One more important thing on this occasion, a very nice series of these sessions are implemented by or organized by ICS. I am also very longly associated closely with ICS. So first of all, congratulations to ICS for arranging these seminars virtually. So in SHE now also we are very much stuck on S only, safety. So in this area also, most of the organizations, I will consider about 60 to 70% organizations are thinking and working on safety only. Occupational health and environment parameters, these are least monitored, least implemented areas in our country. That is the real fact and real scenario in our country. So we have to agree that safety is dependent on health. As earlier speaker very rightly said, safety, base of safety is your mental health, your physical health, and then other parameters. So in my opinion, safety is more of our internal safety or mental health. And as we are going through our experience, that mental health of top management, higher management, there are two perspectives: mental health of higher management and mental health of the people working in the work areas. And this mental health is depend on the environment overall in which we are living. So just I want to reiterate one very important thing, because in our organizations, people are coming from different background, different cultures, different philosophies. Very nice 8 principles of keeping mental health well are mentioned in the Buddhist philosophy. If our management is reading and digesting that 8 principles and implementing in their behavior, definitely in my practical experience, definitely scenario will get that are vision, right meditation, like that. There are 8 very important principles. If someone is reading and implementing those 8 principles in their personal life, definitely they will be healthier mentally. And once your internal health is safe, you can work very safely in your working areas. You can keep your people who are associated with you, working for you, safe in your working premises. Once your internal health is well, and very least implemented parameter is environment, your mental health, your internal health, or safety, or occupational health, everything is depend on environment, whether it's a physical environment, whether it's a working environment where you are working, and an environment from which you are coming. So these are very related and dependent parameters, but very much important is environment, then comes your mental health, then comes your safety. Let me tell to the audience, we are, because of mental health, because of environmental pollutions and other things, more than 20 lakh people are dying in, about 90 crore people are dying every year because of pollution, mental health issues, and other related parameters. Out of those, more than 20 lakh people are dying in India only. So, more than the people are getting killed into workplaces, the people are dying more because of
Right.
hello.
Yes, yes, Sunilji, we missed you. People are
Yeah,
dying because
yeah.
of, I think your connection broke that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Sunilji has a weak connection.
Yeah,
So,
cannot, yeah, able to get
so
it.
let me push the similar thing, taking the cue from what Sunilji said. Out of the S, H, and E, he feels that only S is being pushed. What, according to you, Yogesh ji, or let me push that to Kataria sir, why do you think only safety is being talked about and occupational health is not being discussed or being worked upon? Why do you think so? Because you've got these notified diseases. Why doesn't the industry not talk about
Yes.
that when? Yes, Balarao sir. Yes, Kataria sir.
Yeah, well, very, very good afternoon to all of you. And Mr. Yogesh has explained it very well. And also, the Sunil Balerao has also put a very important aspect of the occupational health and safety. There is a mental health. Because Sumit sir question is very valid, that we talk about the safety only. We don't talk about the occupational and health, because health is most important. I'll put some of the question marks to the audience. Why our Indian workers has less efficiency than the overseas or from the abroad, from the Western countries? I want to know the question. Is it our working environment is not conducive, is not very much protecting the workers and providing the adequate safety cultures and safety signs or safety management system? Anybody from audience?
Good morning, sir.
Temperature is high in India, so that is
Temperature is
high.
temperature is high in India. Okay. So yes, Om
That's
sir,
right.
you would
That's
want to
right.
mention something.
As Mr.
UAL Gulf country temperature is higher than India. But our own workers, they do pretty well. Their efficiency is very high than the Indian workers. Why?
As Mr. Sunil sir says that, because of internal health,
maybe due to internal health issue.
Yes, I think Menon Sahab has also raised in his hand. Menon Sahab, would you want to put your point ahead?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I am just presently located in Azerbaijan. So I'm talking from Azerbaijan, Baku city.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Dr. Sundar Kataria ji, you are rightly took this question. Means the difference of occupational health importance, Indian workers versus the workers who are working in overseas. Okay. Since I've worked in both the scenarios and having 25 plus years in the industry, I can really say that no, nowadays in Indian industry also, this HSE is getting a prime importance. As certain states, especially the state of Maharashtra and state of Andhra Pradesh, has come in for forefront on the safety angle. Okay, so this is the occupation. Now the certain varieties of courses which is introduced by the occupational health, which is now widely accepted in India also, the NEBOSH and other courses where the occupational health has been touched in a wide variety. So the industries like pharma industries where this occupational health is also in the forefront. So there are changes, shift happening in Indian perspective point of view, and the days are not very far that we can see that no, occupational health is getting primary objective to an organization's of well-being. Yes, weather conditions also playing a role. We can't compare, we cannot put weather condition as one of the reasons, because as Sundar Kataria rightly said, the Gulf countries, the weather condition. Now I'm in the Azerbaijan. Now here the weather conditions goes on the minus sides and 0 to 2 degrees. Now I am at 6 degrees centigrade. I'm sitting now. So it's not really the weather condition impacting, but it is how the organization taking care of their employees in terms of delivering the product in the possible safest manner. That is the way it's looking. Okay, there's a technological changes is happening day by day. And challenges are coming in front of everyone. So there are focus are getting shifted on to more onto the occupational health and safety. Yes, safety is always there, but occupational health and now also on the environment side also. So we can look, we can see that in the coming days, not too far, that these areas are getting very highly touched in industry to industry, especially the chemical industries. So fingers crossed, we can look forward shift changes in the Indian scenario also. That's how I am looking forward.
Thank you, Menon Sahab, and that was really nice to hear from you and get insight from you on the different perspective. We have Bhalerao ji, I think, who's raised his hand again. Sunil ji, are you back?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So
before you start, sir, I just want to put one point which I said, that occupational health mein jab hum baat karte hain, sir, we've got these notified diseases like mercury poisoning, manganese poisoning, anthrax, silicosis. Now, silicosis is the only thing that probably we know or talk about, but the miners problem, the monoxide problems, these are some things that the industry doesn't talk. Would this be related to the fact that in the primitive days, or maybe 10 or 15 years back, anyone would stand up and kisi ko safety mein khada karna? I'll tell you how the culture started, of my very, very shallow understanding. Ki industry, when we started going abroad, or where peer things happened and where the safety culture opened, they said, okay, you need safety officers standing there. So suddenly I realized, Chembur station ke bahar fire officers ka training hota tha, subah jate the, dophar ko certificate leke aate the. It was like 1 day training, and people would line up there and they became fire officers. And dhire the industry ripened, and these people who you would just ask them to do a 4-hour session, teach them, and they got these licenses, and these guys were standing in offshore wherever hot work was going on, or onshore activities. That is the era where we look at safety culture. And today the era is different, where we are looking at safety officers who have skills, knowledge, and information sitting on their hand. Many a times when we go to industry, we realize that people do not understand what are the industrial diseases related to their own industry they're working in. Because that kind of, awareness, knowledge is not available, but slowly things are changing. What would you think about that perspective, Balarav Sahab?
See, I do agree things are getting changed gradually, and it will take next 10 to 15 years again to bring focus of management on occupational health and environment. But regarding this, I will say management means any management or any organization, if they are least bound to the implementation strategies of the government, like one of the steel industry I used to visit or I was there. So safety to theek hai, but occupational health was very poor. Means that very minute particles of steel and very extremely high heat is there. People are continuously working there in extreme heat environment. So government's policy implementation, legal implementation is not that much effective what it is there in Gulf or any European countries. And people also now there are very few or more people are coming in a professional way into safety. Otherwise, steward concept, most of the bigger organizations जो बोलते हैं कि our company is like a ocean. You can understand the name of the company. I will not put it here. So that companies are also focusing on keeping safety supervisors or safety steward concept, which is जैसे कि आपने बोला green helmet पहना दो और खड़ा कर दो भाई, तो कुछ अगर हो जाता है गलत, अच्छा होगा तो उसका नाम नहीं लेके, गलत होगा तो सेफ्टी वो ग्रीन हेलमेट वाला. So that blame game culture and stringent implementation by government authorities, it is not there. Unless and until it is not there, the things will not change even after 10-15 years also. But yes, big corporates and only multinational companies are taking it seriously, occupational health as well as environment aspect. But managing the things is the jugadbaji still going on in bigger organizations. I will not take the names. This is the real scenario we have to accept. And organizations like I am also as a general secretary of Occupational Health Safety Sustainability Association of India, OSHAI Foundation. We are also more focusing on bringing the safety culture not only through industries, but we have to touch the untouched area, which is our societies, families, and academics. So safety culture will start from there, because मेरा खुद का एक्सपीरियंस, मुझे सेफ्टी तब समझ में आया, मैं इंजीनियरिंग पास आउट हो गया, सेफ्टी इंडस्ट्री में काम करने के लिए चला गया, देन आई अंडरस्टूड भाई ये भी सेफ्टी होता है. So this is happening with most of the citizens or safety professionals. So we should understand, learn safety from our homes, families, societies, as well as that should be the integral part of academics in all courses. Then we can expect the scenario may change in future.
Beautifully pointed, sir. I just went back to check my curriculum, and our engineering had no safety subject. So it's very beautifully pointed that a curriculum like mechanical engineer is kept away from safety. So taking the cue from that. Yes,
Yogesh. I have
Yogesh.
one point. Sir,
yes, Yogesh.
Now what normally happens is safety, when we talk about in ill health or safety, the acute impact or acute effect and the chronic effect plays very important. So all these occupational diseases, they are under the chronic effect. You cannot have impact seen immediately, like you have get impact when you see any accident. So that perhaps that may be the reason. And again, it is disclosed or identified only in the periodic health checkup of the employees, and still the workplace hazard related or the occupational diseases prone areas. So the test to identify those, these are also not covered appropriately in the periodic health checkup of the workers. So that's why these are not brought up. The occupational diseases, they are not appropriately taken up at organizational level as well as from the medicine practitioner who actually do the testing for that. So that is again an issue. For a further, as per my audit experience, though the government organizations, they have the entire testing fees that is borne by the government or the organization, but still the worker are reluctant to get their medical examinations done because they have fear that if something is detected, then that may put my question on my employment. So that is again one issue from the worker side.
Yes,
But,
Yogesh, that,
on,
yes, Kataria, sir.
Yeah, on this medical examination, if you see, they do it because they have to do it. Like this, they will call the medical officer in the factory. 50 people are certified within just 3-4 hours time. Now, what check they have? As Sumit sir says, now, type of industries you are working, you have different hazards. So different diseases may take place. So that even the doctor has to focus those areas.
So, sir,
Whether they are going to have the chest problem, whether they are going to have allergic problem, body allergic problem, or they are become asthmatic. So what is the hazard? Unless you know the hazard, the medical checkup for the namesake is not going to help.
so sir, coming back to all three of you, what do you think is the actual issue? Because see, obviously environment needs a lot of infrastructure. Safety, on the other hand, does not need as much infrastructure. I'm just hitting a cue from, you have maybe about, if you have 100 organizations who are operating, close to about 60 would have had a ISO certificate at some point of time, and all 60 would be in Q. When we come to the E, we are looking at barely about 7 or 6. That's the percentage I am going as per my estimate. And when you come to OSHA's, it'll not be far ahead of that. It'll be about 8 or 9. My understanding is, why is it this that safety ke liye, you do not need the kind of infrastructure to implement safety as you would need in terms of equipment to put in environmental protection in place. Still, why do you think people do not want to adapt the safety culture? One is at an organization level, where obviously Yogesh in his presentation has listed down ki brand image hai, downtime hai, accident hai, fear hai, all those points are there, and I'm sure everybody understands that. But again, when we take for health checkups, we are saying, just Kataria sir put a point that health checkups are being done, this is one size fits all and everybody would do a singular level test. My question to all of y'all is, I want to know, why does the industry not understand that it is for their safety? Why, as an individual? Is it because as an individual also, I myself do not take a safety or do not take a health checkup at a regular interval? Am I lax and that is why it is percolated all over the place? Is this the Indian culture that is working? That we ourselves do not take health checkups very seriously? How many of us do actually do that periodic health check? So is that thought which is actually percolated in its implementation right down? So I would want to hear from Balarao ji, and then we'll move to Kataria sir.
Okay, sir. I will put my opinion on this.
So thoda volume, thoda mic ke paas aa jaiye, sir.
Yeah.
Ji.
Is it audible now?
Yes,
Am I audible?
perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, see, we also, as a Voltas, I will give few examples. In our country, it's changes are very gradual, or management is not taking seriously, because we have lot of escape ways. There are a lot of options or second ways are there to escape from the responsibilities of or liabilities. हमारा भी वोल्टास में यहाँ इंडिया में जो लोग काम करते हैं, their behavior and attitude in India is different while working. वो जब गल्फ में चले जाते हैं, their behavior and attitude get changed because वहां पे है do or die. भाई implement करो, नहीं तो अंदर जाओ. There is no any other way. In our India, बहुत सारा जुगाड़बाजी है. There are escape ways. नहीं करो तो यहाँ से ऐसे ही छूटना है, जुगाड़ करना है. These things are there. Like I will give second example. Here in our country, local train के platform पे अगर हम जाते हैं, तो our behavior and attitude is different. कहीं भी speed करेंगे, कहीं भी थूकेंगे, कचरा डाल देंगे. Similarly, when we are going in India only on a metro station, automatically our behavior and attitude will get changed. So this environmental perspective or maybe stringent implementation or monitoring of authorities is more responsible for these things not to happen. This is my opinion.
Yeah, here I would like to add, when we are talking about all these things, there is a saying that like master, like servant. Now, unfortunately, as Mr. Balera also emphasized, that our commitment of the top management is not there. You don't have resources available, first thing. You don't have money available. You have only, okay, they will say fire safety is there. Okay. Now, let's have the firefighting equipment. What type of cylinders required? How many required? What is the position? Training? Nothing. No emphasis on those things. Even people don't know how to use those ones. So there's a commitment, top management commitment has been very much lacking, which is very much required. Unless like this, we do so many audits, so many surveys and other things, then we see the top man directors or general manager, he doesn't have time to attend your audit opening meeting or closing meeting. Now, what is the commitment? How you expect that there's a worker will also follow the safety? Like in Japan, I was there quite a long time, almost 6 months. I was in NKK, that is the largest steel manufacturing company. There were about 500 people working from general manager to lowest level. Morning 8 o'clock sharp, everybody is there. And then they have the chasm, they have safety talks and all those things before they start work. General manager also is stand there. He will also talk, worker will also talk. There is a commitment. So I think we are lacking in the management commitment. Commitment means there are a lot of things management has to provide. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And over to Yogesh, what is your insight?
Sir, it is more related to the work culture and the carelessness of the worker, because he is doing the same work years together, and if in past nothing has happened, he is assured for himself that nothing will happen irrespective of whatever he is doing. So that the confidence level, that way the their confidence level is very much high, and they are reluctant to change because of the safety, because of the implementation of the SOPs and all. They are reluctant to adopt it because in past they never had such kind of accident or incidents, and they are just going ahead with the same work, the way they are working, and they are not bothered. Even like sir said, the commitment from the top manager, nobody is asking to him, and even if it is asked, it is just for the namesake. They will do it for that time, but again they will come to that level only.
Thank you, Yogesh. I have a hand raise from APSG. So would please unmute, and or if it's by mistake, it's okay. APS? Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. Anandji, Boliye, sir, you had your hand raised.
Yeah.
You want to add something on this?
Yeah, actually, I was just joined little late. But it is really a very big concern about the Indian companies specifically, and this generally being happening because of individual mindset. Now, the traffic police is ensuring that I should wear seat belt, I should wear helmet. Otherwise, I myself not taking care of things. So first, the big gap is from the user itself. Second comes to the organization. The organization, Factory Act is very well designed, and each section has given enough safety parameters for the requirement of the company to operate. But there is again a flaw that people are not aware of the Factory Act. The employees are not aware of the Factory Act. That is how they cannot demand from their employer. Third, it is because these safety concerns are having some cost. So the employer is also wanting to wash his hand and just to pay some amount to the factory inspector or somebody else. So these are the main criteria which I feel we are lagging behind. And the first and foremost, the employee is the person who has to take care of his health first. That is what I want to add in that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Again, before we move to the question answer sessions, we've got 7 minutes. I will take the question answer sessions and then we'll proceed. Who do you call as management? Is this the owner of the organization or the entire management cadre who is responsible for the execution of the work? So this is a $1 million question that I want to understand. When we say management, are we referring to the owner who's sitting in his AC office and never comes to factory staff, or may not come? And the people who are in the managerial level, who are right there, who are handling the people, giving them work, are they management? My question, I'll move this question to all four of you all to understand the your perspective of this. So over to Balerao first.
Actually, practically and legally, practically I am telling, the people who are sitting in air conditions and giving instructions and orders and making policies, they should be held responsible for non-implementation or implementation. Practically, legal perspective, occupier is whole and sole responsible.
Correct.
Person who has ultimate control over the affairs and resources of the organization.
That
वो on paper हो जाता है, but on paper वाला कभी नहीं रहता है. Behind him, there are people who are monitoring, who are framing policies. So they should be held responsible. That is MD or board of directors. Unless and until they are not responsible, things will not change.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Balerao ji. And that comes right from Factory Act. And when we do in the subsequent session, the Factory Act, you will realize the occupier who's solely responsible. But that's theory. My question to Yogesh ji, again, I will push that to Yogesh ji. Do you think the top man or the occupier of the factory actually implements the rules at the factory?
No, they can make the policies, they can have the objectives and targets, but the implementation, whatever the requirements, they can provide the resources, but ultimately the process owner or the area head who is the in charge of that section or area or process, he is actually should be responsible or accountable for implementing and maintaining the safety and health workplace health.
Thank you so much, Yogesh ji. Anand ji, quickly, if you want to comment on that.
Sir, in India, there are 3 types of organizations are presently, which is one is the government organization, the other one is PSU, and the third is the proprietor, managing director, or somebody who is owning the organization. Wherever the PSUs are there and the government organizations are there, there are 2 different cultures are there, because in government organization, they have to put up certain files and get those approvals, and they are not getting the approval. So from the government point of view, it is not being done most of the places, or it is being done if the top management is okay and agreed and putting and processing the file and taking care of that. PSU, yes, definitely they are doing it. Today, in case we see, all PSUs are well equipped with occupational health and safety process. Now remaining the companies who are the proprietary or managing director companies who owns the profit, they have to spend the time and money. So they don't want to do that. During the audits also, it has been seen. Wherever the question comes about the money, then they say, "Ki isko chhod dijiye, we will take it later." So here, I specifically say it is the top management because he knows things, he know the safety, he know his organization, he know his employees are falling sick, he knows people are going out, he knows people are like occupationally getting a lot of hazards, but he is not taking action because he is having a lot of you can say input for recruitment. If one is not there, then he will take another one. So I specifically say there is a top management.
Okay, thank you so much, Anandji. And it's time, we have enough time to take the questions only. So there is the information that comes from VK, that is Vivek, and he says that all these recordings are placed on the sadgunsang.org website. You can refer them and anytime have that recording if you would have missed a session. Surendra Mankarji says a question, and Namaskar Mankar Sahab, how are you doing? So from Mankarji, we have a question. Is it acceptable practice for a company to fire a worker on the spot without second warning or failure to wear PPE? So this question I will put to the man on field, Balarao-ji. What is your take on this? Is it acceptable practice for a company to fire a worker on the spot without a warning for not wearing PPE?
Actually, we need to consider the background why he is violating, why he's not wearing PPEs. And we should first convince him why company has provided it. So unless and until he is not get convinced from internally, he will not follow the instructions of the management or instruction of the safety officer. So we should give him a chance. But in my opinion, we should not stuck on the PPEs only. Right. We should work and implement the things in the workplaces as per hierarchy of control. Still now we are more focusing on PPEs. We should work on hierarchy of control like elimination, substitution, administrative, and then PPEs. This is my opinion.
Perfect, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And I'm sure as we go along these sessions, people will realize where you're coming from, because sir is talking about controls, which are the engineering controls, and it is elimination, substitution. And before I end the session, I will take you through what's coming next. I pose the second question again from Mankarji to Yogesh. Is it acceptable that the worker must pay for their PPE on their own?
Sir, this is normal practice that we come across during our audit. The organization, they just wash their hands and they just put this PPE, use of PPE into the contractor account. So normal practice is nobody is there from contractor to monitor what exactly if they are following or having those PPE using those PPEs or not. And the organization, they feel that it is a contractor responsibility and they will take care. So ultimately, nobody is taking or nobody is held responsible for not using the PPE, and the monitoring of part also, that part is again be an issue from the organization point of view, because it is in the contractor scope. So ideally it should not be, it is the organization's responsibility to take care of the persons who are working within the premises, and they need to take care of their health and safety, even though it's contractual employee.
Thank you, Yogesh. I will have the next question which comes. I hope, Mankarji, both your questions have been taken care, and I'll move to the next question and I'll put it on to Anandji. This comes from Mr. Anil Silval, and he says, who's responsible for the implementation of EHS within an organization? Partially it has been answered, but I'd still request you to throw light on this.
Implementation is the core responsibility of the process owner. And the process owner must have the competence and understanding of his organization. So it is only the process owner, because that process owner should have courage and guts to go to the management and ask, this is the requirement, and tell that, yes, we need this. And this is how the process gets into in real picture also, because the process owner is not going anywhere. So this is the process owner's requirement.
Absolutely.
And that
Well said, sir. Very well said.
later I say this is that individual responsibility.
Correct.
Nobody themselves are telling that I need this particular safety, or this I'm suffering from this particular occupational disease. So process owner and the individual.
Perfect, sir. And
I
take-
can
yes,
I
yes,
can add
yes, Kadaria, sir.
further on this. If you see, when we do audit and we find many lapses, like take a simple lathe machine operation. Now, when we go there, the guard is missing, safety guard is missing.
Correct.
Then this shaving is falling and is hurting the operator, but there is no proper way of removing it timely. And then machine is making a lot of noise, but the operator never ask, is making noise, please have proper maintenance. There's no proper maintenance being done. There are a lot of things which are taking place. Then many times when he has to change, earlier I've seen they used to do belt change with the hand, and their hand can get trapped. So these are practical things. As Anandji says, I will also emphasize that supervisor as well as the worker, both are responsible. Then only we can have safety culture should be there. It's the most important. And monitoring has to be done by the supervisor. Top management, the general manager cannot monitor it. It has to be supervisor who has to monitor it, or a safety officer.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry to cut all of you all short because we're past our time by 4 minutes, and I want to stick to schedule. I take the last question. It comes again from Mr. Anil Selval, and I will throw this on to Kataria, sir. If higher management does not support to EHS officer, how to overcome this situation? It's a very tricky one, but
Yeah. Then one has to pursue, have to have meeting with the top management and tell him, educate him, with this you are saving money, because the worker falls sick, he is absent, your productivity is lost. And your brand equity also goes down if there are more accidents taking place. So we had to really tell the management, we have to educate to them, because indirectly you are losing money. And very much losses are there. So that
I'll add
you
this.
will understand. Like this, we have a lot of problem when we were doing it audit in this Alang. Initially, top management was not interested. Then we arranged some seminars, workshops, and had a one-to-one meeting through association. But then we could bring them, and they agreed that safety is most important. And then they kept the budget, and then they were also looking what are accident taking place, then ensuring that proper PPE are available in their stores. Separate PPE room was made. So is that through education only?
perfect. So I would thank you so much, Kataria, sir. And Anandji was topping that up with some information.
I'll review my the earlier words after Kataria sir's message. Yes, definitely the process owner. Sometimes the top management is not much aware, and he is involved into various other activities. The process owner or the supervisor must have the data to show to the management, and they have the right to conduct these safety meetings. And with that data only, if he presents, that is enough for him. Lest it is to be left over to the top management whether they are going to spare that money or not. So that is what the most important requirement, which no one is doing it, only saying कि हमको कुछ मिलता नहीं है, कुछ होता नहीं है, but no one has projected such requirement. We have seen in many of organization when the top management itself he says कि मुझे तो कुछ पता ही नहीं है, so they didn't tell, so I was not aware. So it is the process owner and the top, the individual must take this with meetings.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much, sir. And I've
Sir, Kataria, sir.
I've
Sir,
eaten
there is-
into 6 minutes of Sushma's time. Yes, Jai Shankar ji, quickly.
Sir,
Yeah.
now we are having a lot of software industries. Each building is having a 200, 300 sitting in a table and chair, and only electrical power supply and laptop as a computer. Then what is the safety we have to take there?
This will come in, I think, coming sessions.
So I will just quickly thank everybody for this. And before Sushma formally starts thanking, it was beautiful interaction. And before I want to sign off and give it to Sushma, let me just make you aware of the sessions that are oncoming for us. So we've got this entire, now we've started this session on occupational health and safety. And this occupational health and safety series starts from today. So Yogesh did the opening session where he, went into all aspects of occupational health and safety. From the next session onwards, we'll start deep diving into each aspect with experts within the domain. So we finished need for safety. We will move to engineering safety. Something that Balarao ji mentioned is using engineering controls like elimination, substitution in engineering safety, a topic related only on that. That will be taken by Anand ji. We move to occupational health and industrial hygiene, which will move to the industrial diseases and how and which industry related. We will use Dr. Datar for that session. We have evolution and we will go to the standards. We will move to acts and rules. We will do the Factory Act one session, Boiler Act, hazardous waste disposal, SMPV, petroleum rules, chemical rules. We will go to OISD. We will go electrical rules. After that, we'll go into farmer safety. We will go into medical safety. We have risk assessment. We will move detailed into QRA, which is quantitative risk assessment. And we will do some qualitative tools like the HAZOP, hazard, and safety integrity levels. We have a session which will be on safety culture, behavioral based safety, because that's where a lot of issues are. We will have accident and incident reporting, a session exclusively on that. We will have a permit to work system, an exclusive session on permit to work system, fire and fire prevention, one session on that, a detailed session on first aid, and we will cap it up with 3 regulations, which is the DMP, which is the disaster management planning, which is currently known as the emergency response and disaster management, the pipeline integrity management system, and the last one, which will be T4S technical safety standards. So I look forward to all of you all in the subsequent sections. You'll be informed in time. Calendar will be floated. So whatever interests you, you can be there. Thank you so much. And over to Sushma. And thanks and thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you everyone for having a wonderful discussion on safety. The next session, we have it on 12th March. It will be 69th virtual webinar on the topic OHSMS Industrial Safety Series, Engineering Safety. The keynote speaker shall be Mr. Anand Pal Singh. Pariyavartan is an annual virtual exhibition and conference organized by ICS. This year, we are going to celebrate Pariyavartan from 2nd to 4th June. Here, introducing the banner of Pariyavartan with the theme Only One Earth. During Pariyavartan, we will be having eminent environmentalists from various industries sharing their views and knowledge about sustainable environment. So, do join us during the Pariyavartan. ICS is pleased to introduce you its research and development books, Integrated Management System, Excellence in Education Management, ISO Made Easy in Gujarati, Marathi, Telugu, Hindi. For reading, please contact the below. Feedback form. Please register on www.sadgunsang.org and go into your login and give your feedback. Thank you for being a part of Sadgun Sang on the topic Need for Safety and Introduction to Health and Safety. Thank you, everyone.